Hey everyone, Coach Robert here with another chess video. So I've decided to start a series on heuristic methods in chess, which are thinking tools to help you make decisions in an efficient way. And the first one I want to start with is something very, very simple. It's something that's useful for beginning players primarily. The only reason I say it's not useful to people who are higher is because they've already mastered this technique. It's essential for all players. So this is about saving the king when the king is in check. In chess, if your king is in check, you have to play some move on your turn that ends with your king no longer in check on the next turn. And as a consequence, there are three main ways to get out of check. We have this trichotomy of capturing, blocking, and running away. So it's not in the rules of chess that you have to only use capture, block, or run away. In fact, they're not called that. I just call them this way to help people remember. In my experience, capture, block, run away is the easiest for kids to remember in particular. So the order of capture, block, run away is also significant. The reason I start with capture is twofold. Number one, especially in beginner games, capturing will frequently lead to a turnover in the evaluation of the game. If you can defend your king with a capture, usually you're going to take advantage of a check, which is kind of careless. Usually beginning players will just check in any way. They won't look to see if the move is actually safe to begin with. So if you can find the capture, you'll often get a free piece out of it at the beginning level. The second reason is that capturing will often neutralize your problem, even if you're playing at a higher level. If you can capture the attacking piece, you won't have to worry about it anymore. So in a position like this one, which I've used many times in training beginners, you have to find a capture. So if you're still at the point where you need to work on these kinds of things, you might want to pause the video and see if you can find the move for black. This position's black to play since black's king is in check. You can always tell whose move it is by looking to see who's in check. If they're in check, it must be their turn, unless both players have done something terribly wrong, which does happen. Sometimes it's very funny. So anyway, if you've paused the video, you can unpause now and see that we can play the move queen takes e2. This is the capture that escapes the check. And after the king takes it, you might be worried that you lost your queen, but this was still the best thing to do. In the end, black is the only one with pieces to try to win the game in this example. But anyway, so let's move on. So capturing is really great. It's not always the best move, of course, but it's something that you have to consider every time. It's sort of tedious, especially in positions that are more complex than this one, to look at every single piece that you have and see which of them can come to the assistance of the king. But if you can learn to do this efficiently and quickly, then it will save you a lot of effort and you can start focusing on other aspects of chess. So I consider this a vital skill, finding all the captures. Another reason that I like to start with captures is when you're a beginner, you need to practice finding captures anyway. So even if there's some other method that works for you for saving your king when it's in danger, this is a very good way of building that skill of looking for captures. So it's also a useful educative tool, even if it's not your cup of tea for how you save the king. Block is next on the list, and the reason I put block above running away or moving the king is because blocks usually will end the attack long term, and I'll get to that more in a second. So blocking means interposing with a piece. You can put a piece in the way. Frequently you'll have multiple options for how to put a piece in the middle, and when I say interpose, I mean putting a piece on one of these squares. In this case, the queen is checking on this line. So if you were to put a piece in the middle, at the end of your turn, your king would no longer be in check. So that's what I mean by blocking. So if you're not familiar, you could pause the video now, see if you can find the way of blocking. I'm about to show it. The way that you would block here is, again, a queen move. We put the queen here on e6. And you'll notice that if they take it, you just get taken back, and that's kind of a fair exchange. We both lost our queens, and so black is still on top here, being the only one with pieces remaining. So blocking is also fine, and the last option is run away. So when you run away, it means that you move the king somewhere. The reason I keep run away last is, number one, it's super easy to find it, so usually it's kind of first on someone's mind. I want to encourage them to look at other options or a diverse set of options, especially when they're starting out. And so if it's already on their mind, you kind of don't need to remind them to do it. It's more important to remind people to look for captures and blocks, the most commonly missed moves. But also, when you're just moving the king, it's frequently the case that when you move the king, your king will just keep getting under attack over and over again, or you might even be missing some other threat. King moves are not always very active moves. In this example, if you move the king, it would be a pretty serious error. So you might want to pause the video and see if you can find out what white would do if you played, for example, this move, king f8. What would happen here? The answer is that you would lose your queen on a6. The queen that was capturing and blocking in the other variations that we looked at is actually an undefended piece. So if you just move your king every single time it gets into check, you'll miss opportunities to save your pieces in situations like this. And so here, moving the king is not advisable. I would do a capture or a block. So this is my heuristic method for saving the king. It's very, very basic. It's something that you can teach players of any level, and it's something that players of any level can use to improve their results, because if you haven't mastered this, you're always going to miss some opportunities. So that's my video. If you like this, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be doing a whole series, so you can check out the ones that are targeted for different rating groups coming up next. All right, thank you. See you next time.